good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the year now. And today I have a truly amazing guest, Jaimini Love. Jaimini, I said it right? Jaimini Love?
Yes, Jaimini
Jaimini
Love.
Love?
Yes.
Jaimini
Although
Love?
I like the way you
Uh,
pronounce it, Lindsay.
Jaimini Love, pure English, the Queen's English.
No,
Uh,
there's a joke about the English, but we'll talk about that after.
and she's agreed to grace us with her presence and share some of who she is and what her mission is and her purpose, and as a coach and as a mom and as a just a beautiful soul going through this earth. And Jaimini, I'll give the floor to you. Introduce yourself, if you don't
Oh.
mind, please.
So thank you, firstly, Lindsay, for just having me here on your video cast. It's just been an honor to connect with you and now be able to have this conversation with you. So just to kind of acknowledge and honor that in terms of our connection and being here. So my name is Jaimini Padletskis and my brand is Jaimini Love. And there's a whole story about love that's there, of course. For me, it's because it's the thread, the universal love I'm talking about. Most people think about love as an intimate way. But for me, there is a universal love that I feel through everything in my life, including nature, beings, and that's where the brand name was kind of born from. And I was so a little bit about me. Maybe that's really helpful for people always
Yes, a
kind of
little
like
bit.
to know. Yeah.
Yeah. How you
I
got?
am
Yeah.
not British. It's probably the first thing to say, which people are really confused by. I was born in India,
Okay.
in Mumbai. And when I was a little baby, my family, my dad primarily moved us to Portugal. So I grew up in Lisbon, very beautiful home near the beach. And I was there till I was about 16 before my father sent me to the UK for education purposes. As we all know at that time, right? Education was really highly regarded in the UK, still is possibly to this day. And then I've been in the UK ever since. So there's always been this real dance about where are you from? Because when people hear me speak, if I go to America, everybody thinks I'm British. If I'm in England, everybody thinks I'm American. It's a hilarious story. It's always a hilarious story around people asking me that. So I always say ethnic, my ethnicity is Indian, my nationality is Portuguese, and by heart, I'm a global citizen. So my, home is where my heart is. And right now, home is where my daughter is as well. So it's kind of like entangled. And my journey professionally, if we talk about that side of it, I've
Wait. Sorry to interrupt you.
go.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay.
We'll get there.
We'll get
So
there.
that's a little bit about me. I'm a
Slowly.
mom. We've already mentioned I have a little girl
I love it. I love it. I
that
love it.
is nearly 7 years old.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. So we're going to get to Alia in a minute and we're going to get to you in a minute, but we want to know how you got to here. So growing up, what was it like growing up in Portugal? Do you remember much of Mumbai, or most of your
Mumbai, no,
memories are
I was eight. I was a tiny baby, so 18 months old. I've been to
not so?
India, so
Yeah.
not really.
Okay.
I'm probably what Indians would call a fake Indian, or I call myself that really. I can speak Hindi, I can speak Gujarati,
Oh,
I know the
beautiful.
culture really well. But I stand out. So when I go to India, they know I'm not from India, if that makes sense.
Okay.
My
Yes,
upbringing is not from
absolutely.
there. And yeah, I love the culture and, the traditions and everything
Yes,
about
yes.
it. When I connect to it directly, I do. I grew up in a Hindu household. So
Okay.
it's a household of seven of us, mom, dad, and five children, four older
Beautiful.
brothers.
Okay.
So, I mean, Portugal is to this day a beautiful country, and
Yes.
my own upbringing was international. So I went to international schools. So I did those two things. So outside looking in, when people usually see my whole life, from what I've accomplished, where I lived, all of these things, they're like, wow, what a beautiful life and so ideal. And yeah, inside it was very different. So I experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse for about 20 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of how my life started. I was actually born into a, I guess, traditional, dysfunctional Indian family. And it sounds crazy to say that's the norm, yet that was the cultural norm, and the way Indian families were raised, conditioned, and they raised their children. And yeah, so the start of life was very dark, is what I usually call it. I call a lot of darkness in my life. Very difficult as a child to navigate all of that. And I tried to commit suicide 3 times. And it was really like, the youngest age I think I tried was 14. I think I was 14 the first time. No, 12 maybe. I can't remember, like around that teen years. The second time when I was at university, so I was about 18, 19.
Okay.
And the third time was after university, like when I went out into the real world. I had moved down to London and I was in my early 20s. So after I did my degree and everything, trying to be out into the world. By the third time, though, it was really interesting. The third time I came to from, the attempt, it was like something had shifted inside me. It was so interesting because I can't say, oh, I had a massive epiphany moment, or it was nothing. It was so subtle, but there was like something that was saying, maybe there's a reason, maybe there's a reason you're alive, and it was so quiet, yet it was kind of like there, pushing me to. And it was really interesting because it sparked like I don't want to say a zest for life, and I became alive because I was still dealing with a lot of, the pain and the darkness that I was still carrying. Yet there was still there was this little spark of cure, like starting to look for the reason. I want to look for this reason. I want to look for this reason. I did a degree in psychology. I did A levels in psychology. I clearly wanted to understand human behavior.
Understand.
And the lens was always, why did this happen to me? Why would people do
Mhm.
such things? What makes people, behave this way and hurt others and da 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 da. And every time I got too close to it, it was quite painful because, of course, right, there was still so much in me that I was carrying. So when that little spark came up, there was this spark that was like, well, what about the other side of it? What makes people do good things,
Yeah.
right? Like, what
Yes.
makes people thrive? How do humans become better?
Yes.
Because I knew how they, the other side really well. And I had no idea how to go about that. I tried psychotherapy. No, went into psychiatry to explore that, but I didn't like the medication element of it. For me, that
Okay.
didn't quite sit right. And so my cousin at that time, funnily enough, was in human resources. And it was just like, why don't you check out human resources? It might be up your thing. So I went and did my little studies and, find out my research. And I realized actually human resources was the path to getting to understand humans in a different way. Maybe we can get them to thrive. Maybe we can get them to develop, et cetera, et cetera. That started my HR career, basically, which
Uh,
then
yeah. Sorry. Keep
ignited.
saying.
I was
Yeah.
just going to add that
Please go ahead.
ignited my curiosity around empowering human beings. How do we bring more out of them? All of that, the 10 years I spent in HR, which was what led me to coach training. In 2014, I stepped into the coach training room.
And I'm going to slow you down because you're sharing such powerful
There's
stuff
so much stuff.
and it needs to be felt. And you're just running away with like,
Yes.
I
Well,
love
it's
it,
your own
but I'm gonna
story.
grab
You're
you
like,
back,
I know
okay?
this so well.
I'm gonna grab you back.
Absolutely. I'm delighted that you
You
would.
shared some really powerful stuff, and I want the viewers to feel it. More than anything is the feeling they're gonna get from what you're sharing. It's not the story per se, it's the emotion that's gonna resonate with their emotions. And with what you shared so vulnerably and powerfully, I don't want us to miss too much of the impact it's going to have. Okay? May I ask you, what was the emotion, if you could name one, that you struggled to be with the most that led you to do the things you needed to do to escape?
Shame.
And you, sorry, please go on.
I was gonna name it actually for the first time. I think I had a lot of shame because the story was I let myself become a sex slave, for 20 years, for a long time. And there was a lot of shame around that.
And I find it so beautiful and powerful that you can share that. And it's intriguing that I feel this is for many people. I hope that even though stuff is done to us, we still internalize it as we did it.
Yeah,
Isn't it crazy?
it's crazy. And part of it for me, I it's a priming though, right? Like as a kid, you are primed to think everything. How are you ever going to understand abuse as a child? It's not something your brain development is not even there to truly, right, understand it. So when someone older than you, even if they're not that much older than you, although my it was 10 years older, the person, the first
Yes,
transgressor, I think that's the
yes,
word, the person. And you, of course, just believe it. Why wouldn't you? What other frame of reference do you have? So I feel there's like this priming of response, that responsibility that, well, it's your fault. You made me do it, or it's right. You did, right? And that's gets internalized very for children. For, when you're really young, you have no other, what else do you have to go on? And I feel that's where it comes from. That there must be something I
I
did
did. Yes, yes,
to deserve this. Not once, I had
yes,
three different abusers,
yes, yes.
and that pattern. And you're like that when it happens like that as well. And there's a pattern. It's just crazy. And then when I moved to England, I had other people trying to sexually assault me and molest me. And then you think, oh, that just reinforces the
The
thinking that
belief
it
pattern,
must have,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
must
me.
be you. It's all you. It's all your fault. And the shame just compounds and just
Oh, wow,
starts eating you up alive
wow.
to the point it has affected me physically. My physical health I have had, it's now healed. It still shows up very, very, very high moments of stress, but it's very far between now. But when I was younger, I used to pass out just like this. And it was my body's way, I think, of coping, right? Of
Oh, wow.
taking me out. And I would just drop. They never found anything wrong with me medically. They could not understand because nobody asked the question. Nobody
Yeah.
once asked me they were only looking at my physical
Yes,
health,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Nobody ever asked how's her environment at home, what's going on. No, nobody asked. They're just like, she's physically fine. There's nothing wrong with her.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's very interesting how how shame kind of I talk about emotions like as balls of energy, and shame was one of them. And of course, there's lots of other ones as well. And they start trapping in your body, and there's only so much your body can hold and take. And then it starts eating you up, or it starts taking you out, right? Passing out. Or for me, the other thing that happened was I started having crazy rage moments that were scary as it was so scary. I felt like I was becoming like I would, when people talk about seeing red, there was moments that it would over consume me. And I was very scared of what I was capable of in those moments. Really scared for myself and others.
I imagine there is so much power to truth and to your story. Thank you for that.
Thank you for letting me share it.
To own it so powerfully and lovingly and bountifully is like really amazing. So many people are carrying such pain in shame and in silence. And I
Yes.
feel that's hurting a lot of people. So leading as you are is really amazing.
Thank you. It's possible. This is one of the reasons I became a coach. This is one of the reasons, like, I live the life I live now and the way I live it and the way I share. This is exactly one of the reasons I share because unfortunately, this is not an uncommon story. This is, my story is so many people's stories, more people than we would ever want to know. And so whenever I'm like, and this is exactly what changed, my whole life changed when I went to the coach training and my healing journey started, and I was like, oh, this is possible for me. That means, right? It's possible for every single one of us who's endured. And it doesn't have to be the same. Because I remember at the beginning, people were like, wow, you went through so much. Mine's not that much. And I'm like, nope, There's not too much, too little. Everybody has story, and one of the things that unites us as humans is pain, this darkness that we all experience.
Sure.
And no one's darkness is more or less. There's no
Sure.
competition
Sure.
here, you know? And it's why I do what I do now, kind of thing, you know? This is kind of what brings me to the here and now, I guess, the thread of life. Yeah.
And may I ask, could you give, before we move on to the next part of our time together, is there something in this moment you'd like to offer that young version of you that was going through that shame and internalizing that? Is there any words of kindness and love you'd like to offer as we are now, having had connected to her for this brief moment?
Mm. It's not words, it's a hug. It's always one of the things she never had, I never had, was being held. Even though I had a mother, I didn't have a mother because she wasn't present. My mom wasn't an affectionate, isn't to this day. So a hug, just being held, which, you know, and I always feel, you know, actions speak louder than words. Like the hug is just, you're safe, you know?
Safe.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're loved. The shame doesn't define you. You know, these kind of, but they're messages that come through the holding versus the just the saying. Somebody could say, "Hey, your shame doesn't define you," and you're like, "Okay, great,
Yeah,
thanks."
yeah, true, true.
And when someone holds you in a way that, you know,
Yes.
so yeah, no,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
And I'm going to put us in a time tunnel and warp us to the future.
Ooh,
Hold on, you're going to get a bit dizzy and
not
motion sickness.
too far ahead. I want to see myself
Okay.
too old.
You press stop when you're ready. You stop at the time you're ready, okay?
What age?
Yeah.
We were talking about age, weren't we? Before? What age shall I stop at? Where are we going? Take me.
I'll take you to the future of any point, and I'd like to ask you, what do you see for you? What's your hope, your vision, your mission? Uh, what is it that you gave us a beautiful insight into your past and what shaped you into the mission of love? And now, how do you see that love manifesting into the future all around you and as big as you want to go?
Such a great question. And I'm probably going to start with an answer that actually, I don't know how people perceive it. So I'll just start with the answer that comes, which is for me, one of the things that I feel like is every single human being's birthright. And this comes through very much for me with my daughter is to live a life on your terms. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean of I don't care about anybody else. It's my way. No. When I say your terms, it means aligning yourself to your truest self. And that actually starts with love, starts with loving yourself. And when we love ourselves and not in a, oh, I'm so great, you know, I love myself, you know, because we know that those statements, something else is behind them.
Yeah,
We're talking about this. It's like a matter of fact love. It's the universal love that all of us are born with. Babies are, right? It's that love. And it stays with you, you know, as you go through life.
yeah.
And for me, it's been a returning back to myself. That's the journey I'm on, or still am on. So when I see my future self,
Yes,
I see her more and more closer to back to herself, right? To the innocence that came through, the purity that comes through. And one of my future goals, if we call it that, my intentions, I hold them everything as an intention versus an outcome, is to hold that space for my daughter.
oh, beautiful.
Right. And most of us was like, I'm going to give her everything I didn't get. And I did try that to start with.
Yes,
And then I realized she doesn't need everything I didn't get. She's
true,
a
true,
different
true.
being as well,
Yes,
though, right?
exactly.
So, excuse me, really tuning into what love is for her, holding her in that. And it looks different. It looks so different for her to what I needed as a
True,
child.
true, true.
And I feel as I do that, honor in myself, and then ripple it into the closest person to me, which is my daughter right now, then it ripples everywhere else. So my clients, the work I do, right, the groups I run, everybody else I work with, I do feel though it has to come from within, like truly from myself, because that is how I can truly be of service, like truly contribute to the world. Otherwise, if I'm not feeling good, and taking care of myself, then I can't contribute. So my vision is not a long list of things I want to tick off, if that makes sense. It's a very unseen, I guess, felt experience of life. And it's a very subtle, ripple out into life. And I see myself as a contributor to life. Yeah. In these various little parts I play, as a mother, as a coach, as a facilitator, all in the, so yeah, I'd probably say that's the future vision.
So for those that don't know, it's not Jaimini's and my first time talking, and I'm gonna have to say you're playing yourself down too much.
Yeah.
You have a lot more power than that. I was like, what is she doing? She's playing it so
Well,
humble and
if we're gonna,
small. Like you have so much power. Just to say,
oh,
I don't want to end in a challenge here in a coaching session, but you have a lot
I could
more
do
to.
that in the next one.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
coach
because
me.
you played it so small. I want to like, no, put fire, put wood in the fire. What are you doing? But thank you for that. I mean, it is your answer, and we honor that.
And
Um,
here's the thing. I think I sense, or I think where you're going is, well, what will that look like? And to be honest, I could say, yeah, I'm going to be talking to lots of people, lots of stages. And yeah, I'm open to all of that. Totally. And if that's meant to be my contribution, the way I contribute, I'm all up for it. Bring it. Like, this conversation as well. I loved it when you invited me and said, let's have this conversation. I'm like, yes, please, that'd be amazing. So I'm not shy of that. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm not chasing it. It's not at the cost of my presence to myself, my presence to my daughter.
yes,
There's
yes.
no trade off here to attain something. And to be honest, that's how my life that's how my business and my life has unfolded ever since I stepped into this world.
And there is no right or wrong answer. The reason I asked that question is intentional. The reason is we're so good at remembering and recalling the past. But when we speak about the future, it's always more intangible and
Mm.
we almost don't want to own the power of the future. And I find an injustice in that, which is why the question for me is to evoke in the person I'm sitting with, you today, to feel into the power that you can create, because then it rises quite fast. But we spend a
Mm.
lot more time. If I ask you to speak about the past, there's a quick recollection to that and the emotions that come with that. It's really instinctive because we've lived it for so long. But if that is the dominant energy, it's going to be harder to snap out, well, not snap out of it, but to transcend it. So the question about the future is to own the future in all its glory, however that looks, to give the soul something really tangible to hold on to that gives the soul in this moment more power and truth and belief. That's all.
I love that. And you know what came up as you said about how easy it is to recall the past? And part of it, I wonder, and I'm curious about this about myself too, is whether we can easily talk about the past because it comes from lived experience. And there is this world where we live in where you can only talk about something you've experienced, right? That's what the right. Otherwise, you're just making stuff up. Otherwise, you're just right. And I wonder if that sometimes seeps into our ability, even though our vision is for ourselves, it's not for anyone else. Yet program is programming. It doesn't, you can't decide, hey, my programming only applies to this part of my life. Programming applies to everything you do, right? How you do anything is how you do everything.
True.
So I wonder, right, where there's like a permission there of, well, I can't talk about my future in such detail because I haven't lived it yet, right?
And I have to own it.
And to then own it, yes.
There's no
So if
courage just to come out.
yes, so if I was to name it, because you're inviting me to do it in this moment,
Please.
beautiful, deepest desire is to show my daughter the world. And for that, she is a lived experience person. She wants to experience something. So if I tell her something conceptually, the first thing she says is, "Can we go do that? Can we go experience that?" And I look at her and it just makes me think, yeah, why not? Like, yes. And she loves animals. So everything is about, can I go into the sea and meet all of this? Can I go to the wild? Can I go to Africa and meet all the animals? Right? It's all about right now. So that's one of it, is to go and travel the world and see the world. And if I'm really honest, I want to combine her passion with my passion. So I always see the future as not me or her, which a lot of parents sometimes feel. It's like, oh no, I'm going to have to sacrifice myself for my child, or my child is going to have to sacrifice something for me. I believe there is something in our life where it's both me and her.
Yeah.
And it changes, it constantly changes, different stages of her life, different stages of my life.
Yes.
So in an ideal future, what I would want to claim is where I'm showing her the world and I'm doing my contributions. I'm going on stages, I'm talking at conferences, and making that contribution, right? To be able to share from my lived experience on all these things. I have my podcast, which I launched this year, so that's coming. Books are in the mix and all those kind of things as well. So, and I also have this vision, if I'm really honest, and this is more to the coaching world as well. For I see a lot of in the coaching world, a lot of brilliant people creating their own things. There's lots of different coaching skills with my philosophy, my philosophy, my philosophy. Underneath it all, the mission is ultimately the same, right? We want to contribute to the evolution of humanity,
That's
the
right.
betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
My question that I've been sitting with, and this has come up a lot lately, is why are we doing it separately? Why are all these brilliant people not coming? Why are we not able to come together and build something together? Because for a coach starting their journey, it's very confusing which to pick because they love all of them. But financially, they're not going to be able to go to all of them, right? Why is there so much separation? And it's just there's just something really interesting underneath that. So in the future, especially with the rise of AI, eventually we're all going to be talking about, hey, us against the machines or something like that, if we go by what the movies say, right? There is just going to be more of a togetherness as humans versus the separation we see today.
And you're saying you see that for the coaching industry, that
It's
there
my
won't
wish
be,
for the future that they will start coming together.
and you're going to start creating something like that, right?
I hope so, yes. That
Sorry,
is my
I'm
vision.
pushing you in a corner there. You see
You're
that?
not
Yeah,
pushing in my corner.
yeah.
You're reading my mind, actually. Stop it. You're
I
not
want you to
actually
own
pushing in
it.
any corner. You keep
Own
reading
it.
my mind and asking the question. So my ideal would be to invite other, thought leaders in the coaching space and see what we can co-create together because every single one of us has a contribution to make. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the space in the first place. Right now, I just feel we're making those contributions separately and at what cost to ourselves because it's quite a lot to hold as well by yourself. And also, how does it really support the coaches we are so passionate about developing, right? Training, developing. So there's just something there to like unpack together.
I love that very much, and I have so much to say, but it's not our time. We said
It's
we'd do
not our
another.
time.
Yeah, yeah, it's not our time for that because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'd love to contribute in a more challenging way, but for another day. Um, but I did notice that when you started speaking more, when the reins came off, your energy changed. So thank you for that.
Thank you for
Um,
reading my mind.
I apologize. I should have asked for permission first, but it's just a bad
I
habit I
clearly
have.
gave permission, otherwise
Yeah,
you would have
okay,
given
as
up.
long as I'm not offending you by doing that, it's
Not at
inclusive.
all.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
Nothing happens without your permission. I know that.
As long as we're aligned, I'm good with that.
Yes.
Jaimini, before we move on, is there anything you would like to say to your future self?
You've got this.
Yes.
um, Funny, for the first words that popped in my mind, it was like, it's time to shine.
But we got to tell the future self that. So you got to tell her she's shining. Thank you for shining.
Yes, that's true.
Isn't it?
Thank you for shining. Maybe that's line is for now.
Yes.
For here and now. I'm so in the here and now, aren't
I
I?
love
It's like,
this.
go to the future. And I'm too much in the here now. I very much live here. Um, yeah, thank you for shining. Thank you for your contribution. And thank you for making it loudly, like the contribution, right? Versus quietly. That's probably the key line there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So back into our time capsule, and we're going to come all
Yes.
the way back to 2026, April 23, 24, whatever it is today. Uh, okay, back to normal time.
Woo! Okay.
Okay. And as we're here and now, who is here now? Who is Jaimini? And how does she look here now?
In the tangible sense or untangible sense?
Open your heart.
Now I'm
Whatever your
messing
heart
with
wants
you.
to share, whatever your heart wants to
I'm
give,
with
give
you.
it.
What I look like right now. So right now, I am on a journey
Yes.
that is an internal capacity building to
Okay.
actually start stepping out into the world and shining, to become visible. And that's been a journey and a half. I've had visibility in the past, but under an umbrella, which was the coaching organization I used to work for
Yeah.
8 years. I did that.
Okay.
And it's beautiful to partner with an organization. And at the same time, it can, it's like a parent holding you, right? It's like someone's holding you while you
Yes.
step in and you have a safety net. So for the last couple of years, that's been kind of like checking in with myself. Am I ready? But more, it wasn't, am I ready? It's like, what am I doing to, take the steps to step that out there that my nervous system, my capacity is ready to hold. So right now, the here and now is all about visibility. 2026 for me is about visibility, which is why we're here having this conversation as well. It's also about starting the travels. So we've been traveling since the end of 2024. So we're already starting to do some of those experiences with my daughter. And to be honest, when we first started traveling, we were looking for our new home or a new place. I home educate my daughter. It's a very
Beautiful.
curiosity led, unschooling led approach. So there's no
Beautiful.
curriculum.
Okay.
It's very presence led
Yes.
for her. And it's what she responds to. We've tried the different things
Yes.
and it hasn't worked for her. And I just don't want to put her into any system because everywhere we've been, the adult wants to be the authority that molds her. And
Yes.
nobody gets that choice. I don't even get that choice. So I'm,
Okay.
to give it to another adult. And my daughter is not, she won't let anybody anyway. She's so strong that she's very no, no, no. So she thrives when we're traveling, when we're exploring, when there's curiosity led. So right now, that's what we're doing. We're traveling, there's a curiosity led, and we're trusting that if there is somewhere we're meant to build a home, like we went to the Caribbean last year, we quite enjoyed it. We might go and explore it again as a
Okay.
potential base for a little while.
Yes.
So, personally, professionally, that's kind of what's happening. And the visibility, as I mentioned, I've launched my podcast that's come out. Only Your Way Counts, it's called.
I'll
And
put a link for everybody to follow. Don't worry. I'll
oh,
add it.
great. Yes. And it has a coaching focus, of course, and yet it's going to open up. It's still very brand new. It's only been a month now. And it's, yeah, the thread of it ultimately is about coming back to yourself, and it's all about self trust, is the thread of everything I do, actually. So even the coaching programs I put out there, everything is about coming back to yourself and trusting yourself. So that's kind of the space I'm in right now.
And may I ask, what is behind being visible?
I guess that's in support of my future self.
True? Or why do you feel
That way
invisible?
of
That you
getting
need to be visible?
the visibility, it's a really interesting question, actually. And so, for the last 10 years that I've been running my coaching, training, facilitation business, like I said, I've had the support of an organization that gave me visibility when I was training globally. I've trained over 1,500 coaches, worldwide, trained the trainers, I've done a lot of stuff, and it was held in that container of the organization. And now being visible means letting myself be seen, letting myself be heard, starting to make my contribution with my own words versus somebody else's words because it was their curriculum, right? Their content. And this is my perspective, I guess, and how I see the world or how I experience it. And that's where the visibility comes out. The other part of it actually is the world is really noisy. Like there's a lot of, I find there's a lot of talking at people. Like, here, you need to do this, you need to do that, you should do this, you should do that, which is where the theme of my podcast also comes out because having a lot of shoulds thrown at you is quite jarring for the nervous system, right? It's like it can very quickly create self doubt, even if it didn't exist, because there's so much
So much,
information
yeah.
swirling around you and you don't know which one to listen to, which one's true, which one's not true. And what it does is it keeps taking you further away from yourself because you're like, I'm being pulled into all of these things. And I guess in the midst of all the noise, I want to be that voice that's like a reminder to go back to yourself.
Okay, beautiful.
That's
Beautiful. So
one of the
beautiful.
reasons for visibility.
Okay, so beautiful. Thank you for that. And what is the brand Love about?
Pure love, universal love.
Can you share more, please, for people to understand?
Um,
Because I resonate with it, but I also know
yes,
it can be a
not
little bit
everybody would talk
abstract for
about.
exactly. Could you help us get some deeper insight into it?
Yes, and so I believe that traditionally when we think about love, it has always been a prove it love, if I say it that way, right? It's like, what are you going to do for me if you love me? What are you? It's been used as a manipulation and a control word. Pure love, true love, has no expectations. It flows in, it flows out, it just is. When a baby is born, like when a child is born or baby is born, we just love it. It loves us. The baby hasn't done anything. It just arrived, right?
Yes.
And somehow we quickly forget that. We really quickly forget that. And all of a sudden, even us as parents can quickly forget that, right? Because as our child gets older, all these expectations, you can do this now, you can do this now, you're older, you can walk, that. And I feel we again have forgotten about that love, the love we were all born with, the pure love that every single human being on this planet was born with. And that it's there to be, felt for ourselves, for nature. You can feel that, like, I feel I love animals as well. And the unconditional love that animals give you. My cats have, they are just, and they don't ask, there's no, dogs are another, so many people with dogs and the unconditional a dog gives you. If you shout it at the dog will come back, right? There's this, and underneath that love, I feel there is the core, like the core component. I don't know if that's the right word, but underneath it is respect, a mutual respect. We've forgotten that word.
Yeah.
And a respect is, we could call it a respect for your humanness, for you as a human being, for your process, for who you are and how you show up in the world. And sometimes love knocks the respect out. The minute I say to you, if you love me, you should do this for me, it means you don't respect me, right? You can't not. You don't respect who I am as a person, what I want, what I don't want, because you demand.
Yes.
Love is higher in there,
Yes.
right? So there's a real thing there for me where true love or pure love is universal and it just is. It like flows in and out. And the name actually stemmed from when I created the company. It was for me to really connect with that. And then it's amplified in everything, including, of course, my daughter, and I see it everywhere.
I see. And do you believe you mentioned with animals, do you believe that human beings can have that sort of can emanate or have that relational sort of you can call me a name, and because I'm emanating love, I will just forgive you as a dog would do, right?
Yeah,
Do you see that for people?
I do. Yes. And forgiveness actually means that they did something wrong. So there isn't even a forgiveness. The dog doesn't register or the animal doesn't register you did something
Right or
wrong.
wrong? Yeah, exactly.
They just accept you in that moment in your like in your expression in your humanness. Do you know what I mean? They
I
don't be
agree.
like,
I agree.
you did
Yeah.
a naughty thing or
Yeah.
you did wrong things and now you need to pay penance. It just
Yes.
is. It's a part of our, we are not just good people. Like this, we express ourselves on the full spectrum of everything humanity is capable of. We've seen that in the world. We see it in the world right now. Right now, everything that's happening in the world. We've decided though we only want to look at half of it. The good, the good. We are
Yes.
all of it. And to truly love someone and accept them, it's the full spectrum. I don't just love my daughter when she's sweet and nice.
True, true.
Even when she's screaming in my face that she hates me or slamming a door in my face, I sit and wait, until she comes back and she says sorry. And I don't say to her, yes, you should say sorry. You did a wrong thing. I say, thank you. And I said, I love you. And that's it. And we move on. And it's something my daughter actually taught me. Sometimes I notice my own conditioning actually, where I was like, I would get dysregulated and I might, sound a bit harsher than I wanted to shout and I shout at her. And then I will go to her and I say, I'm sorry. And sometimes she would just hug me when I say I'm sorry and then move on. And I realized I have this condition because I think I did something wrong. I need to be forgiven.
Yes.
And I remember asking her one day and I said, have you forgiven me? And she's like, what are you talking about? She literally said, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I shouted at you and she's like, Mom, you said sorry. I hugged you. It's over. Like, move on, like kind of thing. In her mind, there was nothing
Done.
she needed to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting. Of course, she doesn't have the conditioning of, she doesn't know about forgiveness.
But you are putting something in her to be so, because I wonder provocatively, in homes where there isn't this kind of I see you, what happens then? Which is what I believe your message is so powerful, because when you bring people back from the pain and they can see the deeper love, there can be a huge shift in humanity, in the collective conscious, right?
Yep.
Because not everybody's approaching themselves through their child as you are, which is unfortunate. It is the way it is, but it is unfortunate. But it does require a different awareness of the self and love to bring a different kind of parenting, ultimately, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's unfortunate and understandable. I always put the two U's together. It's unfortunate because unfortunate comes from because we wished it was different. Of course we would. That's just our optimism of humanity and how we can be better. And understandable is because maybe they don't know how. They've never been taught, they've never
Yeah,
seen it
yeah,
modeled. It's really
yeah.
hard to even imagine it, let alone embody it. Right? And usually no, awareness starts conceptually. So we start trying to understand something first from a different perspective. And then it's a whole process of feeling everything, including our not so great things, right, that we
Yes,
have ourselves, before we can truly embody it. And it's been a process for the last 7 years for me, Lindsay, with my daughter. She is, you know, but every little dark spot, and I love it. And I knew she was going to do that. I told you that when I knew I was pregnant with her, which was a surprise, the first thought was, oh, it's going to be a girl and she's going to come kick my ass, right? That's exactly what she's done and continues to do in these 7 years. And it's a beautiful dance, like a moment to moment awareness, with her and stuff. So yeah, I wish that, and part of it, I think last thing I want to say is I think part of it is the reason we miss it. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word. Is the pace of life that we have been
so
conditioned to live.
fast. So fast.
It's so fast, and kids just need more space. And same with the education system. That's why I don't want to put her in. She's sensitive. You move too fast, she checks out.
Yes,
And the great thing about there's so much space, there's so much spaciousness in
true,
her
true,
day, in our days, which really allows her to go into herself, just the way
true,
we all need. Even as
true,
adults,
true,
we need that.
true.
So. Yeah.
I love it. What an approach to yourself and through your daughter. So rare and so much needed, I would say. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's a process. I learn every day. Every day I learn
You didn't
something
want to
new.
receive that, did you? You blocked it.
I
Oh
did
my
receive it and
God.
said thank you.
And then let it settle.
Oh,
Feel it.
fine. Thank you. Can I
Sarcasm will
now
get you
say
nowhere. Sarcasm will get you nowhere, okay?
thank you?
No, I don't want to thank you. I want you to feel it. You don't owe me anything. You're doing the thing of love again, the old school love, right?
Yes, you see,
You
that's why I'm
see,
saying
you
I'm still
see.
dancing with it.
No, I don't. I wasn't looking for a thank you. I don't want anything in return. I wanted you to feel the power that you're emanating. That I'm sure. Well, I know your daughter's receiving, and I'm sure your clients are receiving in abundance. That I don't even know if people are conscious of how much love comes in when people are serving from love. It goes past the cognitive brain, and something happens in the body in the presence of love, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. And sometimes the conditioning gets in the way because we start questioning because we've never felt the true presence of love. When it is happening,
Yes.
people will naturally resist it,
True.
reject it,
True.
and or attack it.
True.
Right? When I've stood in rooms where I'm facilitating trainings, I've had people attack me because they think I'm a fake.
Oh wow.
Um, uh, and yet they can't deny how they're feeling.
Yes. True.
So that's conflict, that crazy inner conflict that gets activated as a result of being in the presence of true love.
True.
Right? When somebody truly holds that with no agenda, whenever I'm facilitating in a room, I have no agenda. It's not same with my clients one on one. Anybody, even with my daughter, I don't have an agenda. Sometimes she wants me to have an agenda, right? And that's just her. Like, does that mean you don't love me, mom? Right? It's such a like if you don't have an agenda, you don't love me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's really interesting. And that's actually picked up from environment for her. It's not coming right, and that's
Yes.
part of the.
True.
And I love that she has that because it when you know the contrast means you can discern
True.
between true love and conditioned love, right? So we have those conversations. But yeah, it's very interesting what happens in the body. Even for me, that was part of my process. So you were just giving me a moment, right, of true love.
Of witnessing, of love, and
Yeah,
then you took a dose of it, and because it was intense, like, but it's a process. But like,
yeah. All
stop,
of a sudden,
let
it's
it
like, yeah,
be.
but I'm still learning, right? So interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. And just being conscious of the time.
Yes, absolutely.
What would be your message now to anyone listening, anyone feeling this message, anyone meeting you? What would you like to share? Humanity. What would be a parting, loving gift?
My probably parting message would be, or is, not to deny your reality. Most of us, hear that everything's possible and, you can unlock your potential. And there's so much buzzwords out there when it comes to coaching, personal development, spiritual development, we name it, right? And yes, all of that is true and can be true. And only when we truly are here and now with our actual experience. And that means the totality of our experience. Most of us, I feel, the tug of war every day is to push us into being someone we're not yet, which means we try to bypass our anger, which means we try to bypass our shame. I tried all of this, by the way, right? I tried this. I tried all of this. I thought I could go from, and I laugh about it. I laugh about it with my coach. Her and I have the funniest jokes. She's like, "Stop trying to fly." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You need to walk step by step to get through this. You're trying to, phew, right? I keep trying to jump over, and of course I do." And I'm like, yeah, I made it. And then, of course, not, right? I'm being pulled back, of course. And it's like a bungee rope. And I'm like, ah. And and I'm going to say this, I know this cycle is true for most human beings, if not all. And it's because it's so scary. And I know it's scary because I've been there to really sit with that darkness, those feelings that we think are
Oh,
going to eat us up, that are going to feel like we can't breathe anymore, right? Those are the ones that we think are going to break us. Oh, I felt like I'm getting teary just remembering how those felt, right? I literally, there was a moment that I couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks, right? I was telling you, Lindsay, that every day crying. And that was part of the process. I had to go through the 2 weeks of nonstop crying. We're so scared of those things. And understandably so, because those are the things that we're meant to experience as a child. When my daughter cries nonstop for half an hour, I let her. I hold her, sit with her, and she cries and cries and cries. Sometimes she doesn't even know why. And I don't know. It just is. It just, something happens. And before I know it, she's, right? We call these tantrums, we call these meltdowns. They release. Something's happening for her. You know?
yes.
That is my biggest wish. If people just started, and we sometimes we need support when we do that. I had support when I did it. So doing it alone is scary.
True.
It's effing scary, is what I was going to say. I don't know if it gets right here. It's really scary. Having support, and I mean pure love, unconditional, non-judgmental support, not to fix you, just to be there while you go inside and be with the all those parts of yourself. That would be my parting message. And then all of those things becomes possible. All of those beautiful things that are up here that we all right, are aspiring to, they're more attainable, more sustainable.
I love it.
So that would be my message.
Thank you.
That made me feel, I
That's
felt that.
nice. I love it. I felt it. It was really
Uh,
beautiful. Well done.
yeah,
Well done.
thank you.
So, this moment, we will be back for a more kind of dialogue, more so. So, that's coming
Yes,
soon. But for
yes.
now, I'd like to say thank you for your beauty, your vulnerability, your strength, your courage, and for all you're bringing to make this world realize how beautiful it is.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having me,
much.
Lindsay. Thank you for all the viewers, everybody who listens as well. And I'm always open to receiving connections. If people want to connect on LinkedIn or just reach out, I always love hearing all those messages as well.
And I will put all your details as well, wherever I
Thank
post this,
you. Yes,
LinkedIn
of
and
course.
social media. I will have all your details so people can follow your podcast and they can follow you and get in touch with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. And I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you.